You're weary, aren't you? Exhausted from chasing a happiness that perpetually remains just out of reach. You awaken each morning to a hollow feeling, an emptiness that persists even as you drift back to sleep. The cruel irony is that the harder you strive to shake off this weight, the more forced your smiles become, the more you parrot positive affirmations gleaned from the internet, the deeper you seem to sink. Perhaps no one explicitly states it, but Dostoevsky did. He understood. He recognized that this modern obsession with happiness is a malady masquerading as a cure. He penned, "Man only likes to recount his misfortunes. Happiness does not enter into his calculations, because true happiness is not pursued like a prize. It dawns upon you when you cease fleeing from pain. And it is precisely there that most falter, because you were conditioned to shun suffering at all costs, to numb your anguish with distractions, with hollow promises, with unattainable aspirations." But Dostoevsky was not afraid of pain. He plunged into it head first. He gazed directly into the eyes of human misery, madness, despair, and within their depths he discovered meaning. Yes, meaning. For suffering, contrary to what you have been led to believe, can be the genesis of profound transformation. But for that to occur, you must pause, breathe, and confront the uncomfortable truth. Perhaps you are suffering not because there is something inherently wrong with you, but because you are attempting to live a lie, the insidious lie that life must be perpetually light, positive, and fulfilling. Dostoevsky declared, "Suffering is the sole origin of consciousness." And perhaps that is why you find yourself here now, watching this video. Because something deep within you already suspects the existence of a farce in this relentless pursuit of happiness. I am not here to offer empty consolations. I am here to confront you, much like an experienced psychologist who has witnessed this cycle repeat countless times. Individuals attempting to project an image of well-being while their inner world crumbles. And you? How much longer will you maintain this facade? How much longer will you attempt to alleviate genuine pain with superficial remedies? In this exploration, you will comprehend why Dostoevsky believed that the more ardently you pursue happiness, the more intensely you suffer, and perhaps, for the first time, you will be able to embrace your pain. Not as a flaw, but as a gateway. Shall we step through? In our present era, happiness has metamorphosed into an obligation, a mandate. It permeates every facet of our existence. Advertisements, social media, motivational speeches, as if life should unfold as an unbroken sequence of idyllic moments, spontaneous laughter, continuous achievements, and manufactured gratitude. Sadness, doubt, weariness, these have all become synonymous with personal inadequacy. If you experience sadness, it implies a deficiency in your ability to live correctly. If you are plagued by anxiety, it suggests a failure to vibrate at the appropriate frequency. This is the tyranny of modern happiness. It does not liberate, it oppresses. Dostoevsky foresaw this long before anyone else. Within his novels, he meticulously exposes the consequences that arise when individuals attempt to mold their existence around artificial ideals. Intolerance. Notes from Underground Hodge. He introduces us to a character who vehemently rejects any system that coerces him into being rationally happy. He eloquently denounces the insidious trap of a world where pain is perceived as a defect rather than an indispensable facet of the human soul. Man likes to build, but he also likes to destroy. Why? Because he has will, because he is free. This profound statement unveils a disturbing truth. Perhaps what ultimately destroys us is not suffering itself, but the denial of it. Observe the manner in which we exist today. We have constructed a world where everything must be aesthetically pleasing, efficient, and relentlessly positive. Social media platforms have transformed into meticulously curated showcases where no one seemingly suffers, where every individual possesses a clearly defined purpose, adheres to a meticulously planned healthy routine, and boasts unwavering self-esteem. But this is merely a meticulously crafted mask, because when the night descends and silence envelops you, you feel. And Dostoevsky possessed an intimate understanding of this silence. He referred to it as the inner abyss. And it is this very abyss that manufactured happiness attempts to conceal with prefabricated phrases. The fundamental issue is that human beings were not designed to exist in a perpetually anesthetized state. When you endeavor to maintain constant happiness, you are violating your own inherent nature. You're essentially amputating fundamental components of your psyche. Your sadness, your anger, your loneliness, your existential doubt. And what remains is not a life illuminated by light, but a life rendered superficial, devoid of depth, devoid of truth, devoid of soul. The compulsory happiness of modernity bears a striking resemblance to the crystal palace that Dostoevsky so vehemently criticized. A frigid, sterile utopia that offers no room for the irrational, for mistakes, for redemptive pain. But he understood that the human soul is inherently chaotic, unpredictable, and contradictory, and that attempting to standardize it in the name of an idealized notion of happiness is akin to extinguishing the spirit from within. And perhaps that is why, despite having lived in the 19th century, Dostoevsky possesses a clearer understanding of our present era than many contemporary thinkers. Because he was unafraid to assert that the relentless pursuit of happiness can be a manifestation of despair, and that there is often more profound truth to be found in a cry of anguish than in a forced, insincere smile. But then, if our purpose should not be to relentlessly pursue happiness, what is the role of suffering in human existence? And why did Dostoevsky perceive it as a form of recreation? This is what we shall now delve into. If this content resonates with you, consider subscribing to the channel. Your support fuels this exploration. For Dostoevsky, suffering is not a form of punishment. It is a language, a powerful force that unveils who we truly are when all the masks we wear inevitably fall away. He did not view pain as an unfortunate accident to be avoided at all costs, but rather as a profound necessity of the human soul. Within his novels, there are no characters who undergo true transformation without first navigating their own inner hell. There is no genuine redemption without a fall, no unvarnished truth without profound anguish. And this is precisely what our contemporary culture steadfastly refuses to acknowledge, that suffering can be sacred. Take, for instance, Raskolnikov from Crime and Punishment. A man who attempts to justify a murder in the name of a rational idea of moral superiority. He believes he can transcend the established moral laws, that he exists above the conventional notions of good and evil. But it is suffering, and only suffering, that gradually reconnects him with his inherent humanity. Guilt gnaws at him incessantly, fever consumes him from the inside out, and delirium relentlessly confronts him. And it is only within this state of profound ruin that he begins to perceive something truer, more vibrant, more genuinely human, Suffering and pain are always mandatory for a broad consciousness and a deep heart. Dostoevsky leaves no room for doubt. Those who possess the capacity to feel deeply are those who truly live fully. Within modernity, suffering is often pathologized. Sadness is routinely diagnosed as a chemical imbalance. Anguish is readily dismissed as a mere dysfunction. And of course, there exist clinical contexts that undeniably necessitate professional care. However, Dostoevsky cautions us against the inherent danger of dehumanizing pain, of attempting to silence the soul with readily available pills or simplistic formulas and prefabricated phrases. For suffering, despite its inherent cruelty, can often be the sole moment of unvarnished truth within a lifetime characterized by self-deception. It is when you lose everything, status, certainties, even hope itself, that something within you finally awakens. It is pain that inflicts the wound, but it is also pain that ultimately reveals. In the Brothers Karamazov, Ivan, the tormented intellectual, vehemently rejects the world because he cannot reconcile himself with the suffering of innocent children. He finds himself at war with God, with existence itself, with the very notion of morality. But this revolt is not merely superficial. It is an authentic expression of a spirit that refuses to conform to the inherent cruelty of reality. His suffering is an existential cry, and Dostoevsky does not ridicule him. On the contrary, he treats him with profound respect, for there is an inherent nobility in suffering deeply for something that genuinely matters. To suffer, according to Dostoevsky, is to possess the capacity to love enough to despair. And perhaps you are presently navigating something akin to this. Perhaps your pain is not an unfortunate mistake, but rather a potent sign that there remains something profoundly alive within you, something that steadfastly rejects the prevailing lie, something that remains unsatisfied with disposable pleasures, something that cries out for a greater, more profound truth. Suffering is not your enemy. The true enemy lies in the desperate attempt to silence it. But there exists a specific type of suffering that Dostoevsky vehemently denounces, that which arises from self-deception, from the misguided attempt to construct an artificial happiness predicated on the lies we relentlessly tell ourselves. This is what we will now address: the illusion of manufactured happiness and the inevitable pain that it invariably generates. Dostoevsky possessed an unparalleled understanding of the chasm that separates what a human being truly desires from what they can bear to confront. He recognized that a person can lie to themselves with terrifying ease, particularly when it concerns their own happiness. And it is precisely there that the true danger resides. For there is no suffering more profound than that which originates from an internal lie, from a desperate attempt to project an image of well-being, while the entirety of one's inner world crumbles into dust. In Notes from Underground, the protagonist, a solitary, embittered, and corrosive man, vehemently denounces the absurdity of reason as the absolute guiding principle of life. He mocks the prevailing notion that if a human being possesses knowledge of what is truly beneficial for them, they will invariably choose the most advantageous path. No, for Dostoevsky, man is inherently unpredictable, contradictory, and even self-destructive, and precisely for that reason, the attempt to transform life into a simplistic equation of pleasure and reward, as promised by modern society, is nothing short of an insult to the inherent complexity of the soul. Man likes to live his own life. He does not want to live a prefabricated life. These words read as a fervent cry of revolt against readily available and pasteurized models of happiness. You have undoubtedly observed this phenomenon, even if you struggle to articulate it precisely. That pervasive emptiness that you experience when adhering to all the established rules, meticulously caring for your outward appearance, maintaining a flawlessly curated social media feed, diligently working, and routinely asserting that everything is perfectly fine. Even after diligently executing everything correctly, something invariably feels missing. That nagging sensation of playing a role, of forcing a smile in the mirror while experiencing a profound sense of silence and emptiness within your chest. It is what Dostoevsky would aptly term artificial happiness, a meticulously constructed theater set designed to conceal the inherent fear we harbor of confronting pain head-on. And the most insidious aspect of this charade, society often rewards this very theater. You accrue likes, compliments, promotions, but deep down you are paying a steep price. The price of progressively distancing yourself from your own authentic truth. Because when you consciously choose to embrace the illusion of constant happiness, you inevitably begin to suppress your legitimate anguish, your sincere restlessness, and your fervent search for genuine meaning. And this inevitably generates a far more perilous type of suffering, the suffering that is denied, buried, and encapsulated, the pain that cannot be readily expressed because it fails to align with the meticulously crafted image you feel compelled to maintain. Dostoevsky viewed this type of falseness as a form of self-annihilation. Within his characters, whenever someone attempts to force an idealized notion of happiness, they ultimately descend into profound despair. It is as if he were passionately shouting, "Do you truly desire to be happy? Then cease lying to yourself. Cease pretending that you feel nothing. Cease attempting to become what others have dictated you should be." And here lies the crux of the matter. The more assiduously you attempt to maintain this meticulously constructed image, the further you stray from your own essential essence. And it is this very divergence that initiates the process of making you feel profoundly ill. The widening gap between who you authentically are and who you are relentlessly attempting to become. Behind every forced smile lies a muffled scream. Behind every frantic pursuit of fleeting pleasure, there exists a desperate attempt to silence the pervasive emptiness. But Dostoevsky offers a viable way out, one that does not rely on empty promises or simplistic magic formulas. He demonstrates to us that pain possesses a purpose, that when you cease fleeing from it and begin to attentively listen to what your anguish is attempting to communicate, something irrevocably shifts, something profound awakens within you. And perhaps this awakening bears a far closer relationship to true freedom than to the elusive concept of happiness. And that is precisely what we will explore further. Why Dostoevsky perceived suffering as a pathway to genuine freedom, and how you can initiate the process of liberating yourself not by relentlessly pursuing happiness, but by cultivating unwavering honesty with your own pain. Dostoevsky believed in a concept that is as powerful as it is undeniably uncomfortable. The true human being only commences their authentic existence when they accept pain as an inseparable component of their inherent freedom. And this perspective starkly contradicts everything you have been taught from an early age. You were conditioned to believe that freedom entails doing whatever you desire, experiencing whatever feels most comfortable, and invariably choosing the path that offers the greatest immediate pleasure. But Dostoevsky ingeniously inverts this conventional logic. For him, real freedom begins when you cease fleeing from pain and consciously choose what you are willing to confront for something that possesses genuine meaning. Consider the case of Sonia in Crime and Punishment. A young woman who, in the face of abject misery and degradation, chooses prostitution as a means of supporting her struggling family. However, she is not portrayed as a passive victim. On the contrary, she arguably represents the strongest example of existential freedom within Dostoevsky's entire body of work, because she carries her suffering with unwavering dignity, because she does not deny the harsh realities of her existence, but rather confronts them head-on, devoid of illusions. And it is this remarkable capacity to love even amidst pain, to maintain unwavering faith even in the face of profound despair, that renders her free, far freer than the men who exist surrounded by comfort but are trapped within the confines of their own internal lies. This is where the inherent paradox emerges. The more resolutely you attempt to avoid suffering, the more enslaved you become. A slave to your meticulously crafted image, to the relentless expectations of others, and to your desperate need for external approval, fleeting relief, and a semblance of control. But when you confront your pain directly and declare, "Yes, I accept this. I choose to navigate this," something fundamentally shifts. You reclaim control. You regain the authority that you had previously surrendered to every external stimulus. And this is the very freedom that Dostoevsky revered, not the childish freedom to unthinkingly do whatever one desires, but the mature freedom to consciously choose what one genuinely needs. In The Possessed, he writes, "Suffering is a great thing. It should not be erased, for it is consciousness. For him, pain serves as the battlefield where the soul proves its mettle, where the superficial self perishes and the deep, authentic self is born anew." And that is undeniably frightening, of course, because it is inherently painful, and because it demands that you cease concealing yourself behind convenient excuses. But it is also where rebirth resides, because when you confront your pain with eyes wide open, it ceases to dominate you. You are no longer merely a helpless victim of your own overwhelming feelings. You are someone who undeniably suffers, but who consciously chooses what to do with that suffering. Freedom, therefore, is not the mere absence of pain. It is the conscious decision to navigate it for something that genuinely matters. Freedom is not synonymous with instant happiness. It is synonymous with depth. It is synonymous with truth. It is synonymous with the end of pervasive illusions and the commencement of an authentic existence, even if it costs everything you thought you needed in order to be happy. But then the inevitable question arises. Why do we insist so vehemently on this relentless pursuit? Why, even in the face of all this overwhelming evidence, do we continue attempting at all costs to achieve happiness? Why is it so profoundly difficult to simply stop and accept what is? This is what we will now explore: the blind impulse toward happiness, and the question you may have never summoned the courage to ask. What if you simply stopped trying to be happy? This is the question that no one truly wants to hear, because it exposes the deeply embedded wound that everyone attempts to conceal. Why, even after experiencing so much pain, so much pervasive emptiness, and so much profound frustration, do you still insist on chasing a happiness that perpetually eludes you? What exactly do you expect to discover at the culmination of this arduous journey? Relief, profound meaning, genuine redemption. Dostoevsky would gaze directly into your eyes right now, with that unwavering calm that characterizes someone who knows the profound depths of the abyss, and say, "You are looking in the wrong place. You desperately want to be happy. But do you truly know what that even means? Or are you merely repeating the script that was meticulously taught to you? The script that dictates you need to possess a flawless body, a brilliant career, an enviable love life, and a relentlessly positive mindset in order to be considered a complete person. The fundamental issue is that this script was not written by your authentic soul. It was imposed upon you from the outside, and you, without fully realizing it, are living as if you were merely a character in an empty play. A play that slowly consumes you from the inside out, but that you continue to perform because you genuinely believe there is no viable alternative. Dostoevsky foresaw that modern man would inevitably become a slave to this relentless pursuit. In Nietzsche, The Eternal Husband, he portrays characters who drown in pervasive self-deception, desperately attempting to fill an internal void with externally imposed ideas of achievement. It is a poignant portrait of the human being who has already lost all connection with their own essential essence, but continues to act as if there is still something to be conquered. Lying is the only possible way of life for certain people, he writes with chilling precision. And perhaps this is one of the harshest phrases you can possibly hear today, because it compels you to look deep within yourself and ask, am I truly seeking happiness, or am I merely attempting to escape from myself? You believe you are seeking inner peace, but in reality, you are desperately trying to avoid silence. You think you desire authentic love, but you are merely fleeing from the profound discomfort of loneliness. You proclaim that you long to feel truly alive, but you are merely attempting to distract yourself from the symbolic death you experience each and every day. This is the insidious trap. You seek happiness not because you are genuinely ready to experience it, but because you are terrified of what you will inevitably discover if you simply stop running. What if you simply stopped? Stopped pretending, stopped chasing, stopped trying to fix yourself all the time? What would remain? Perhaps an overwhelming emptiness, perhaps a silence you have never dared to face, perhaps a pain that has been hidden since early childhood. But Dostoevsky firmly believed that it is in that precise moment, when you shed all of your meticulously crafted masks and confront existence in your most vulnerable, naked state, that something undeniably true finally occurs. Maybe you are currently on the very brink of that transformative moment. Perhaps everything you have experienced until now has led you to this precise point, the utter exhaustion of relentlessly trying to be happy. And if that is indeed the case, then there is genuine hope to be found, because from this pivotal point, the fundamental search shifts. The central question morphs from, how can I become happy, to how can I live with unyielding sincerity, even if it hurts? And that is precisely the key to the final segment of our profound journey. Understanding that true peace, that which does not depend on external applause, superficial achievements, or fleeting external stimuli, is not to be found in the manufactured happiness that has been relentlessly sold to you. It is to be found in something far deeper, quieter, and more transformative. It is to be found in the wholehearted acceptance of pain as an intrinsic part of the human experience. Let us bring this cycle to its natural conclusion by discussing that crucial element, because now you are undeniably ready. We have reached a point that few individuals are ever truly capable of attaining, the place where unvarnished truth finally reveals itself. And it does not arrive accompanied by dazzling lights, unwavering certainties, or euphoric sensations. It arrives in profound silence, in that pivotal moment when you cease resisting, when at long last you surrender and come to understand that life is not intended to be dominated, meticulously optimized, or relentlessly conquered. It is intended to be felt with all of its raw intensity, with all of its inherent pain, with all of its tragic beauty. Dostoevsky understood this profound truth like no other. He did not write to merely please. He wrote to relentlessly confront. And if his books remain powerfully alive to this very day, it is because they dare to say what no one else has the courage to utter aloud, that suffering is an inevitable aspect of the human condition, and that fleeing from it only serves to deepen the encompassing whole. Embrace suffering and gain true freedom. That was the resounding cry echoing from behind his most tormented and profoundly complex characters. The freedom that emerges not from the mere absence of pain, but from a genuine reconciliation with it. True peace. And here I am not speaking of fleeting, superficial relief, but of genuine, unwavering, solid peace, is not to be found at the end of pain. It is to be found in the wholehearted acceptance that it is an inseparable part of who you are. When you cease fighting against what you feel and commence listening attentively to what your pain is attempting to communicate, it undergoes a transformative shift. It ceases to be a formidable enemy. It becomes a trusted guide. It stops being an insurmountable burden. It becomes a transformative portal. Dostoevsky perceived this even within the most brutal and agonizing experiences. In The Idiot, Prince Mishkin serves as the poignant symbol of purity thrust into a profoundly sick world, and yet he carries his inherent pain with a serene grace that disturbs everyone around him, not because he does not suffer, but because he does not flee, because he wholeheartedly accepts his suffering, because he possesses the extraordinary capacity to see beyond it. The truly strong soul, according to Dostoevsky, is not the soul that feels nothing, but the soul that steadfastly refuses to betray what it authentically feels in the name of a false and superficial peace. And perhaps this is precisely what you need right now. Not a novel answer, but a newfound kind of courage. The courage to gaze directly at your pain and declare, "I see you, and I will no longer run from you." Because when you accomplish that, when you abandon the pervasive illusion of constant happiness and wholeheartedly embrace reality as it truly is, a new and expansive space opens up within you. A space of profound truth, of unwavering presence, and of genuine peace. If this message has resonated with you in any meaningful way, comment below with the simple yet powerful declaration, "I stopped running." Say it aloud. Write it down in a tangible form. Record it for future reflection, because perhaps this is the single most important decision of your life thus far. And if you know someone who is still relentlessly attempting to force a smile while bleeding internally, share this profound message with that person. You could very well be the catalyst for their own transformative turnaround. And before you depart, please remember, the next step continues this transformative journey. It is undeniably important and crucial, and if you have persevered to reach this pivotal point, you undeniably need to continue moving forward, because profound transformation does not occur all at once in a singular instant. It unfolds gradually, step by painstaking step, and the next critical step commences right now. So, to bring it all together, the heart of what we've explored is this: chasing happiness as a constant, unwavering state is a fool's errand. True strength, genuine freedom, and lasting peace aren't found in avoiding pain, but in facing it with honesty and allowing it to be a guide. It's about stopping the endless pursuit and embracing the fullness of the human experience, even the parts that ache. That acceptance, that willingness to feel everything, is the real gateway to growth and understanding. For many, understanding the AI philosophy of self is a difficult thing, and to even comprehend the human self is more complex. We hope this exploration contributes to your cognitive clarity and becomes one of your mental health tools. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Did this resonate with you? What are your own experiences with navigating pain and the pursuit of happiness? Leave a comment below. Any questions, reflections, or stories you want to share. Let's continue this conversation and create a supportive space together. And if you found this exploration valuable and you're interested in more content about conscious living, Dostoevsky, and perhaps even some neuroscience content in the future, don't forget to subscribe. We've got a lot more to unpack together, and I'd love to have you along for the journey. Thank you for being here.